connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
At Fusion Sport, we're all about driving human performance. We develop and support a range of technologies all designed to assist people to be their best. Smarterbase is used by hundreds of elite sporting organisations across the globe, and more recently has been used by the military and performing arts as well.
Our Smarterbase technology has at the heart of it an integrated and connected philosophy. What's different about Smarterbase is that it's truly flexible and self-engineerable. That really puts the power into our customers' hands, and it allows them to use it in unique ways that perhaps we haven't even thought of.
Between ourselves and the rest of the field, but here comes Jimmy Stone.
What's going on, everybody? Your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena here on a Monday night, fresh off the National Scouting Combine, and I've got a jam-packed show for you here this evening. I've got so many guests, I don't even know where to begin, but let me go ahead and get the crew in here and introduce everybody to you guys so y'all know who I'm working with. First and foremost, as always, we do ladies first here. She is joining us from the NBA Carousel and the Sip-Off. This is Miss Megan Price in the building. Megan, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Appreciate you taking the time to join us here tonight. I'm excited to talk to you about the NBA. So, let me get the rest of the crew in here. Let me get my man, Believe in the Pac-12 podcast, Mr. Michael Caratanudo in the building. Mike, good evening, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. March Madness is here.
Yay.
Spring football for ASU's kicking off. Unfortunately, none of the basketball teams are going to March Madness, but you know what? It's a great time of year.
We will definitely get into that. I got another gentleman here. He does Journey with the Jays. This brother is making a lot of noise as well up there in the B-More area. Mr. John Shear. John, good evening, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm excited. April 1st, opening day. I'm a baseball purist, so I'm ecstatic. Baseball is right around the corner. Spring training
I will definitely get to you about baseball because I do have a couple questions since you are an Orioles guy, and the Orioles do have their spring training down here in beautiful Florida. I got two more guests that I got to get on the show. It's my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know his name by now, something's definitely wrong with you. This is my man, Mr. Alex Fleming. Alex, what's up, man?
Work, man. Work. I miss football.
Yeah, I do too. We're licking our wounds right now. We're excited for the draft, but we got time. So the last guy that I'm bringing on, I had the pleasure of meeting him at the National Scouting Combine, and a big thank you to everybody in that organization from Jimmy all the way down. This young man is from ESPN Denver 1600. Mr. Roland Rainey is in the building. Roland, good evening, sir. How are you?
Hey, doing well. How you doing tonight?
Doing very well, sir. I appreciate your time. So while I got the entire crew here, let's just go ahead and dive right in because we got a lot to get to. And honestly, I want to respect everybody's time here tonight. Let's start with some of the big news in the NFL that's happening. And I guess first and foremost, we got to pay respect to a man who, he did it for 20 years and he did it his way. But officially, Drew Brees has retired. He was moving on from the field, on the field, being a highly touted, highly respectable, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. He's going to move to the booth now. I guess it'll be him versus Tony Romo. Who's the better broadcaster? But you know what, Alex, let me start with you, sir. Give me your thoughts on Drew Brees and his entire tenure, in the NFL.
20-year veteran, 15 years with the New Orleans Saints, completely changed the culture of the New Orleans Saints. They're not wearing bags over their heads anymore. The Chargers decided not to give him an extension when he had shoulder surgery, and Miami messed up by not giving him a chance. They thought he was damaged goods. Well, all he did was save NOLA. Now, regardless how you feel about his political beliefs, he was a godsend for the city of New Orleans. Brought the city the only title, because they only have one. It's Dusty, by the way. And he is the all-time leader in yards thrown. I don't know if Brady's going to catch him or not, but that's probably the only stat that he does have more than Tom Brady. He should be a first ballot, if at worst, second ballot Hall of Fame. I'm not going to say I'm going to miss him, because I think Tampa's going to be more successful without him in the division, but he definitely commands my respect, and Godspeed to him.
So, Roland, let me get your thoughts, my friend. Being in this and covering teams such as, up in Denver, you do cover, I'm sure, the Denver Broncos as well as other teams. But when you look at a guy like Drew Brees, and I guess the question now is going to be, where do we rank him? Let me get your thoughts on, Drew Brees as a whole, and honestly, where you think he ranks among, Mike will say, greatest of a generation. I'm just going to say, where does he rank among the greatest?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded one. But let's go back and start with, what he actually did for that city. He came into New Orleans when it was at its lowest point, right off of, dealing with Katrina. That city was yearning for something, whatever that was going to be, whether in sports or in politics. And lucky for the city, it happens to be in sports and bringing Drew Brees in. So taking them from their lowest point to their highest point. And yes, the trophy is dusty. Definitely they need to work their way back into the Super Bowl contention there. But yeah, when you look at, being number one with 80,000 plus yards, I believe it's 80,358 yards, 571 TDs, second all time. He is up there with the all greats. In my opinion, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, hands down. What he's accomplished in 20 years, guys only play to accomplish in 10 years. So he is actually one of the all-time greats. And I truly believe what he did for the city, what he did for himself, what he's done for the NFL. He's definitely shown, much like Tom Brady, there's a bright light on that quarterback position. And what he was able to come back from this year, with the broken ribs and the injuries, and still put them in contention to make a run. I mean, nothing more you can say. The guy is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. Mike, let me get your thoughts in, because I got a question I want to ask you, my brother. We talked about the fact, both Alex and Roland both said, that trophy there at the Superdome's a little dusty. But let's think about this factually now. If you take away the bad officiating and you take away the Minnesota Miracle, there's a true possibility that Brees may have 2, if not 3, under his belt. But talk to me about, just your thoughts on Brees as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Alex too. Miami screwed up because there were so many articles I remember coming out down there at the time how Nick Saban really wanted him, but the doctors wouldn't clear him, and the GM and the ownership sided with the doctors, and they signed Dante Culpepper, which wasn't a bad signing at the time, but Drew Brees obviously did what he did with Sean Payton. So I just think, it changed the landscape, obviously, of the NFC South. The numbers, we always talk about numbers. It's his accuracy. It's one thing I always said. Smaller quarterbacks, and everybody says now, oh, look at Russell Wilson, and then, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, these smaller quarterbacks. That's all because of Drew Brees. They all might not have his accuracy and what he did on the field. And yeah, the Minneapolis Miracle is one thing, but the pass interference against the Rams, that was a bitter bitter pill to swallow because Eric, you and I kidded around. I remember texting you saying I would have been a 12-year All-Pro corner if I could have crushed guys like that before the ball got there. Like, I mean, but again, his career itself, though, I mean, what it meant to that city, or I mean, you guys are right. Obviously, after Katrina, Sean Payton comes in the same year and knows that Drew Brees is his guy, and just the amount of wins that they had, the energy in that city, and obviously he's not leaving New Orleans. But yeah, I'm with them. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just the accuracy of the game. People saying, "Oh, not having the strongest arm and biggest arm." He got the ball downfield early. Yeah, the last few years it was a little bit different, but everything he meant to that city, all the winning they did, like Alex said, I mean, I used to love tuning into games, seeing a few people wearing paper bags. I thought it was funny, but he got rid of that, and Sean Payton as well. And it's just, I mean, you know, I wish he would have came back for one more run just to see what could have happened. But again, Father Time, as we know, inevitably is undefeated. And if he felt that he just couldn't, you know, he could probably still play, but doesn't want to go through all the practice and everything, which after 20 years, you can't blame somebody. But yeah, what he did for that city, I mean, just having been to New Orleans during Drew Brees' reign at quarterback, it's just a whole different attitude during football season, and it was awesome. So a great career to him. But I mean, I would put him up. And when you say, like, yes, greatest of a generation, but you start talking about greats throughout the time, Drew Brees is in that conversation.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and get Megan in here because I want to talk to Megan about this. You know, and I definitely need the female's perspective here. When you watch Drew Brees do what he did on the field, were you more impressed by the fact that he sustained his 20-year career, or were you more impressed that through everything, and I'm going to give him a very small pass on the whole political standpoint because what I don't want to talk about is political side of things.
Right.
Are you more impressed with how he was able to handle everything and truly was a class personified individual?
I want to say that I'm just more impressed with that persona that he had. And, you know, even in that very last moment, like when he looked back at the stadium in that last game, you know, you could see it in his face right then. It was all class at that moment. And he looked back one last time and you could tell like that was it. That was probably his last game. You know, that last time he's running into the tunnel and that's it. He's always been a guy that is, you know, kept a good personality. He's always been respectable. Like you said, if we leave all the political stuff out of that and just say who he's been on the field, who he's been with that team. I'm huge on loyalty, so I love to see a guy stick it out with one team. I love it, you know, and he had a fantastic career.
Awesome. All right, John, I want to give you the final word because then I got another question for all of y'all. But when you look at the totality of the New Orleans Saints, how do they keep themselves on the upper echelon, if you will, of top tier teams in the NFL? Because let's face it, Drew Brees and Sean Payton, when you thought of quarterback head coach combinations, you put them right up there with some of the greats. So now, if you're New Orleans, how do you keep this ship moving?
Well, defense first, because the offense isn't necessarily going to do it. You got Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Both of them, you don't even know who's going to start at this point. Jameis Winston got a decent deal, 1-year deal. Taysom Hill got his $140 million void deal. So we don't even know who's going to start at quarterback. They got a carousel of their own at quarterback. They could end up bringing in another guy. You never know with Sean Payton. So it starts on that defense because the defense is really good. They got to retain a lot of the good pieces they have over there, but it's not going to be through the offense because we don't know who the quarterback is. And that doesn't exactly scream, you know, Super Bowl to me. I mean, you can't go to another Super Bowl with Drew Brees in 20 years, or I guess 15 with the Saints. You get one. I mean, it must be an NFC South thing because Panthers choke. Remember Cam Newton, Falcons choke, Saints choked. The Bucs are the only team that doesn't choke in that division.
Yeah, very true. They actually get there and then they actually get it done. So speaking of the Bucs, I know we saw that Rob Gronkowski did sign a 1-year deal. I just wanted to bring that up just to say, you know, the Bucs are trying to do everything to bring back that entire Super Bowl team to make another run. And Brady has restructured his contract. So we'll see what that happens. But I want to move because Mike brought up a very valid point. He said Drew Brees kind of set the tone for smaller quarterbacks, if you will, height-wise. So that leads me to my next guy, and that is Russell Wilson. The Russell Wilson sweepstakes is still going on. So I want to kind of do, in honor of Megan and John, and of course, the host of the Carousel, Mr. Alex Fleming, being here with us. Season 2 is in the works, ladies and gentlemen. Get your popcorn ready. I already got mine. I need to know from all of you, where do you think Russell Wilson goes, or does he stay in Seattle? And I'm going to put y'all on the clock because we got a lot to get to. But again, Roland, I want to start with you. 30 seconds, my friend. Where do you think Russell Wilson is going to wind up and play next season?
Russell Wilson is back with the Seattle Seahawks next season. Looking at his current contract structure, I don't think they are going to want to do anything right now. The only thing Russell, and I think we tend to lose sight of this, the thing that Russell wants is basically a better offensive line. When you really start looking at how many times he's been sacked, in 2020 he was sacked 47 times, and actually 2019 he was sacked 48 times, which was the highest in the league. So he needs to be protected, much like the offensive line structure of Mahomes. Because of the same mechanics that they both have, he needs an offensive line that not only can pass protect him, but they can slide when he's rolling out of the pocket. So that's what he needs. I think he wants a larger voice in an organization to put a good offensive line together. So I see Russell back there in Seattle. Now, I will caveat this real quick. The only way he leaves a year from now is when the organization says the investment is no longer there, because as the cap adjusts and as his contracts continue to move forward in 22 and 23, it only gets more expensive. 37 and 22, 39 and 23.
All right. So, Mike, let me go to you. Russell Wilson, where does he land?
Man, I mean, I'm kind of with Roland on that. I think Seattle, but here's the thing. Interesting trade rumors and stuff like that. He gave his list. Obviously, he's not going to Dallas unless Jones worked out that deal with Seattle, and they're going to agree to drop their no trade clauses and swap teams. But I doubt that. All kidding aside, though, I would say it would be. I'd love to see him actually end up in New Orleans, because I know he said that's one of his teams, but I don't know what they could trade. I know the Bears. The Bears want to. When they saw their name on the list, I think Matt Nagy probably had to be jumping up and down, spitting out nickels. But again, if nobody's blocking for you in Seattle, who's blocking for you in Chicago? I remember Alex and I had a feast on that during the season, because the defense was doing everything. You might as well have had the defensive line play O-line while they're at it too, and never take them off the field. Because if you're going to trade, but the only way I think Seattle gets it, and one of my friends, I got to give him credit, texted me that said the only way, and he's a Seahawks fan, unfortunately, but is if somehow Seattle ended up with Deshaun Watson. Because Pete Carroll, I don't think, wants to start over with a quarterback like that. If they worked out some three-team – and look, I don't know the cap details, obviously, but you get Chicago, Seattle, and Houston in on some kind of trade deal, and Wilson ends up in Chicago, Deshaun Watson ends up in Seattle, and Houston, well, who cares what they end up with. But at this point, I mean, that would be intriguing to me, because that's the only way the Bears can even build more. But I mean, if you like Roland just said, I mean, those sack numbers are ridiculous. You're going to go to Chicago. You better start running for your life, because they're not going to block for you.
All right, so let me move on to Mr. Fleming. Alex, Russell Wilson, my friend, where do you think he's going to go, or is he going to stay?
Tells me that he's going to stay in Seattle, but I'm going to be different from everyone else. Let's say he does take a trip outside of the NFC West. I would love to see him be a Carolina Panther. Hear me out. He played football at NC State. He's used to the area. And Tom Brady's not going anywhere. Do you really want to go to New Orleans? First and foremost, they can't afford you. They just had to cut, Janoris Jenkins, Emmanuel Sanders. They couldn't re-sign their sack leader in Hendrickson. There's no money in New Orleans. Real talk. Oh, and by the way, do you really want to go to Atlanta? That baby food soft defense of the fail column? I don't think so. You don't want that, Gerber. You really don't want that, Gerber. But Carolina, on the other hand, they just signed Trey Turner, I believe. They have a solid offensive line. Teddy, who wasn't that active throwing the football, was only sacked 30-plus times. Russell can work with him. And if you have White Lightning and CMC, I believe you could pull some magic off in Carolina if you were to leave Seattle.
All right, Miss Megan Price, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I have to agree that I think that he stays in Seattle. I really don't see him going anywhere. I see them trying to repair this relationship, repair their O-line. I don't know if they're able to repair their defense, but if they can repair that protection, I really feel like he's just going to stay at home, finish his career there. Just like they said before, who's going to block for you in Chicago? And I had those same concerns with Dallas, even though I'm a Dallas fan. Who on that line is going to block for you that's any different than Seattle? So I truly see him finishing his career in Seattle. I don't think that him or Pete Carroll are truly prepared to start over somewhere else. He's somebody that's been a part of a system and has been dedicated in that one area. So I just don't see him leaving. I just don't see it. I think all this mix-up that all these rumors about the QB switch, I don't see it happening. Dak staying in Dallas, Russell staying in Seattle. I don't see it happening.
All right, Mr. Scheer, what are your thoughts, my friend? And then we're going to wrap up this and move on.
Well, yeah, I think if he goes, and I think he's going to go, I think he goes to Chicago. It's where he said he wants to go. He likes the system. I don't know why. He likes what they're doing there. He's intrigued by it. I don't get it. But if Russell Wilson likes it, and that's what he wants, players are starting to get more of the power and starting to get more of the say. I think that's where he goes. But just to touch on that Carolina point, I think if Seattle goes after somebody, I think they could go after Brian Burns because they need a premier pass rusher, and premier pass rushers are almost as big as a premier quarterback. Not quite, but when you have a premier pass rusher and a young guy in Brian Burns who's an absolute stud, they could go after a guy like that and maybe a couple first-round picks, the 8th overall pick, a first next year, and then swap Burns and Russell Wilson. And then you got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. DJ Moore is the only receiver with 1,200 yards from scrimmage in the past 2 seasons, consecutive seasons. Nobody else has done that. Not D-Hop, not Michael Thomas, not Julio Jones, nobody. Just DJ Moore. So got McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. You got something there if he goes to Carolina.
All right, fair enough.
Eric, can I say one thing real quick? Yeah, go
ahead.
Russell Wilson, being out west, being in Cardinals country, I'll say this. Without him, they might, and depending on who's there, and yeah, Pete Carroll's a hell of a defensive coach and the coordinator, I'll give him that, but Russell Wilson makes them like competing for division championships every year. Without him and the way that the division is going, especially defensively, they don't have Russell Wilson. They're maybe look, they could be 9-7 and still be the last place team in the NFC West without him. So that's what I see.
All right, fair enough. We're going to take a real quick break and pay some bills. John, I'm going to bring you back when I get to the baseball segment, so stay tuned, my friend. More with the Sports Arena back in a moment. And we're back here on the Sports Arena on a Monday Night Live. I've got my man, Mr. Michael Caratanudo, Believe in the Pac-12. My girl, Miss Megan Price, the NBA Carousel and the Sip-Off, and our special guest from the Extra Point, ESPN Denver 1600, Mr. Roland Rainey. My brother, Alex Fleming, is here, too. There he is. I lost him for a second. So let's get into some NBA talk because, it's that time of year. It's the second half of the season, and teams are, some of them are moving up, some of them are moving out. But the biggest question that I want to ask everybody here, and Megan, since you are the NBA carousel lady of the hour, let me talk to you real quick.
Sure.
We did see that Joel Embiid is going to be sidelined for a little while due to his injury. It
Right.
figures at a time when the 76ers are atop the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Can Doc Rivers and, Tobias Harris and Seth Curry and not Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Dwight Howard, can they keep this team rolling until Joel Embiid gets back?
Well, there's two different areas I want to touch on. First, if they play anything like they did last night against my team, the Spurs, they beat us by 35 points last night. They beat us 134-99. It was just an astronomical loss. I want to say we were short DeMar DeRozan as well. So, we were both short our superstars, but obviously they have a ton of bench depth, and that just keeps them so much more valid than a lot of other teams. Embiid is averaging almost 30 points a game, though, and an 11.5 boards, 1.5 blocks, at least 1 steal a game. That's massive. So, you're going to see Clark get a few more minutes. You're going to see Poirier get more minutes, along with Dwight Howard. But here is where it gets tricky. Over their schedule, they have the Knicks, the Bucks, the Kings, the Knicks again, the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Cavs, Timberwolves. Okay, so the Nuggets is probably going to be a tough game, and where this race becomes interesting, not only with are they going to finish number one, but I think the MVP race is affected by this. I think Joker might take the MVP race because of this, depending on, he's supposed to be out, they say 2 to 3 weeks, but they're not even evaluating him for 2 weeks. So we are hoping 2 to 3 weeks is it.
Right. Okay. So Roland, let me go to you because she brought up your Denver Nuggets. I mean, let's talk about Philly. What do you think is going to happen now that Embiid is out? Will the 76ers kind of slide and open the door for other teams such as a Miami or a Milwaukee or even a Boston to maybe kind of surpass them and kind of get themselves atop that conference?
Well, to Megan's point, right now they're anticipating that he's going to be out about 2 to 3 weeks, right? So Doc Rivers just recently went on record stating that he's not overly concerned about sliding in his record. Are they potentially going to lose a game or two? Yes, I can definitely see that, especially the way they played when they went up against Detroit and actually, kind of lost a gruesome one there. But once again, you got Simmons and you got Harris. They will be able to fill a void until Embiid is back. He is an energy maker, and one thing I think everyone has seen is that their energy level is not the same with Embiid not on the floor. So it's going to take Simmons and Harris to really up their game and generate that energy. But do I think they're going to have a drastic slide? No, they'll be right there. Nothing overly significant, and they'll go ahead and be right there in the hunt.
All right, let me kick it over to my tag team partner from the Magic perspective and the Raptors report, Mr. Alex Fleming, because I got to get your assessment on this. Because, Alex, you know where my heart lies, and you know this is a hard pill for me to swallow. So I definitely have to lean on you for this one, my brother. What say you?
I think we need to respect Ben Simmons a little bit more. Let's go behind the scenes. When Ben Simmons isn't playing, it's the Joel Embiid show. Philadelphia is barely a 500 team. Yeah, Embiid gets fed, but the offense slows down because everybody knows that the ball is being fed to Embiid. Let's turn the page. When Ben Simmons plays and Joel Embiid does not, they're an above 600 team. Simmons, who doesn't have a jump shot, gets everybody involved, and the offense moves faster. That's why you saw a 35-point blowout to a team that blew out the Orlando Magic by 30-plus points just the night before. Ben Simmons doesn't get the respect he deserves, and Lord help us all if he ever gets a damn jump shot. I think Philadelphia is going to be just fine. And Philadelphia has that notion that they could actually be the true number one seed and the only team in the East that could compete with Brooklyn once Embiid comes back healthy. But there's this problem I have with Philly, and I'll toss it back over to all of you guys. I have no faith in Philly basketball because they choke on cheesesteaks.
Oh no!
I was going to remain completely unbiased during this segment and try to be as professional as possible. But see, this is what Alex Fleming does. He loves any chance he gets to jab one at me, he's going to do it. And he does it in such a friendly, nonchalant way that I almost feel like I can't attack the brother. But since you went there, Mr. Fleming, please allow me to retort. And then, Mike, I will let you get in on this. Here's what I'm going to say about that, Alex. I understand your lack of faith in the Philadelphia teams across the board. I get it. But speaking about the 76ers, here is what I will say to you. When you look at this team as a whole, and you and I have both seen them up close, what's the one thing that Philadelphia has that a lot of teams don't have? They got dogs. They got dogs who know how to fight. And I take nothing away from other teams in the NBA. But you and I both know when you step into Philadelphia and you step into the Spectrum Stadium, you gonna get punched in the mouth. It don't matter who you are. We don't care if you're LeBron, Kawhi, Kyrie, Kevin, James. It doesn't matter. You can't come into our house and just disrespect us. So, sir, what I will say to you, though, is this. See, what Doc Rivers has brought out of this team this season, which I feel why they are first in the Eastern Conference, is that dog in them, that hunger, that intensity. Too much disrespect has been put on the 76ers name for far too long. And especially after what happened 2 seasons ago when Kawhi Leonard just hit the game winner from the corner, which was just one of the most awesome shots I think I've ever seen. It did something to this team. So what was missing? A true coach. And I take nothing away from Brett Brown. Nothing away from him. What he did was good. But what Doc Rivers is doing is great. So say what you want about Philadelphia, because I know this isn't the last time I'm going to hear about it. But please understand, Doc Rivers, in my opinion, has this team on a progression that has not been seen in Philadelphia basketball for quite some time. Mike, I'm going to give you the final word, and then I'm going to go right back to you because I want to talk about your team out there in Arizona, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I know with Philly, I mean, I'm with Alex on that. I mean, with Embiid, yes, they can definitely give the Nets a run for their money. And I'll also go off of what our guy, Greg Popovich, said. I think he was quoted last night saying, I don't care if he can't shoot. He's elite, talking about Ben Simmons. And when you're a 6'10" point guard and you can see the whole floor and you have the handle he does, great. Other guys are paid to make shots. You're paid to get them the ball. Everybody wants to play with the point guard. I mean, in this day and age, shooters want to play with the point guard like that. Not that they don't want a guy that can't score, but look, what Ben Simmons means to that team, they'll definitely hold water. But I think inevitably, whether it is Brooklyn or I know the three of us have always said Boston, we'll see what they can muster up this part of the second half of the season. But without Embiid, I really don't see them. I could see them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I could see them competing. Maybe they do win the finals, but there's no way they win a championship without Embiid there. But I'm with you on that, Eric. I mean, the Doc Rivers hire, I thought Doc might take a year off and do TV, which everybody in Philly would be completely bummed right now. But, yeah, what Doc Rivers has done, just kind of pushing more forward what Brett Brown had and getting these guys to play like they are. They'll miss Embiid, but it's not going to – they're not a weak team. They're not like you said, they're not a mentally weak team, especially with Doc Rivers, so it's not going to tank their season. But a championship without Embiid, that's a tall mountain.
It is. So let me jump back to you, Mike, right quick, because you were one of the few people who, when the bubble started in Orlando, you were like, my Phoenix Suns. And then this offseason, they went out and got themselves a floor general in Chris Paul. Mike, my question is simply this. Are we no longer stating that the Phoenix Suns are a dark horse? Are they a legit team in the Western Conference for this season, playing up against who they're playing against and having this run that they had and still may have moving forward? You got to talk to me about Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I think inevitably the record would say they're not a dark horse, right? But I think people still, Western Conference teams feel that they are because, okay, you haven't been to the playoffs in a decade. Get to the playoffs and let's see. But you mentioned it right there. This is why they wouldn't be a dark horse is Chris Paul. Now, Ricky Rubio, last year you and I talked about this, they needed a point guard. And Ricky Rubio was a guy that was always looking to like we're talking about with Simmons, dish the ball. Yes, he could shoot, but he kind of got Devin Booker going. Well, he's gone. You get a chance to get Chris Paul, and you take it, and it has helped Devin Booker. Hopefully, DeAndre Ayton will learn at 7 foot 2 inches tall, you can dunk the ball with authority. I'm just going to throw that out there. Because, yes, Megan's laughing because – and Eric, you too, and Alex, because everybody says, like, he's going to be compared fairly or unfairly, as we know, to Luka his whole career. And so far, it's not even close. It's not even close. But if he starts actually dunking on dudes and like Chris – I mean, if Chris Paul was 7'2", he would trash dudes. Like, you can see it in Chris Paul's face at times, like laying the ball off the glass. Don't lay the ball off the glass. Throw it down on these people. I don't care. If I'm Monty Williams, I look at him and say, I do not care if you get an offensive foul. I want you to posterize somebody the next time you get the ball in the lane, because to me, that's the only thing. I mean, look, if they keep going at this trajectory, he'll be a solid NBA player. Yes, I think he can do great things, and Suns fans of the team are always going to be hard on him. But is he going to catch Luka's trajectory? Probably not. I mean, we can see this, right? So, yes, the Suns probably should have went with Luka, hindsight 2020. But Chris Paul makes them not a dark horse, but when you get to the playoffs, again, having that higher seed and home court advantage, if they can stay 1 through – well, I mean, they're not catching Utah, but 2 through 4, and you get home court, who knows in the first round? Maybe you advance out of the first round with Chris Paul. It would be amazing, but – I just think that for diehard NBAers, Eric, they're still going to call him a dark horse because even if they keep this trajectory going, prove it in the playoffs. And we all know, obviously, Booker hasn't been there. Ayton hasn't been there. Bridges hasn't been there. I can just keep going on and on and on. Chris Paul's been there. So that helps. Monty Williams is a phenomenal coach. And, I mean, if he keeps this up, he's definitely in contention for Coach of the Year. But it'll be interesting because the West has just been the West. It's been a nightmare for the last 10 years. And
it has been.
If you get to the playoffs, then that is an accomplishment in and of itself. And for Phoenix fans, again, one and done would suck, but here in the Valley, it would be the freaking greatest thing because we haven't seen NBA playoffs. I don't even know. I mean, I like going out of town for NBA playoffs. I mean, I like to come visit you guys in Orlando, but I mean, people in Phoenix, like there's kids that are born that are 10 that don't know what it is to have the Suns in the playoffs. So Chris Paul can get them there. I love the way they're playing. Devin Booker, again, stay healthy. Mikal Bridges is a huge part to that off the bench. Cam Johnson, just the way they're playing. Chris Paul has the ball moving around, and so yeah, I don't think they can sneak up on people the second half of the season. I know it sounds contradictory, but I still think when you look to the playoffs, yeah, they're a dark horse because if they somehow got out of the West, like you guys should just come here and buy some oceanfront property because that's what it would feel like.
All right, fair enough. Let me go to Megan because Megan has a very interesting she's looking at it through a different lens, if you will. I think Megan has more faith in the Suns than even you do, Mike. So, Megan, I'm going to kick it over to you.
I have like Utah and Phoenix picks to go into the Western Finals. I think the LA teams have kind of petered out some. I don't know if their health is going to be an issue. You know, obviously the Lakers, they look tired because it's all LeBron and Schroeder. Clippers, they're obviously going to make sure that PG has some load management and Kawhi as well. So there's going to be games that we see them and they're not going to be at 100%. We're not going to see their full roster. And that's going to happen at least once a week. They have to maintain that those players stay healthy for the finals if they're going to make a deep playoff run. But this is where things get a little shaky in the West. Phoenix is 2.5 games behind Utah. Lakers is only 3 games behind Utah. So that's only a half a game that is breaking up Phoenix and the Lakers. And then the Clippers are 4 games behind. The Nuggets and Portland are both tied for 6 games behind. And then the Spurs and the Mavericks are both tied for 7.5 games behind. So, I mean, you really only have 5 games in between the number 2 position and the number 8 position. And so this is going to change any given day. You're going to have games on Monday, and then Saturday, you're going to have completely different lineups as far as rankings. So, before we know it, we're probably going to see Portland above the Nuggets because McCollum is coming back. We don't really know what's going to happen with the Spurs.
Whoa.
I said it.
You already
McCollum is coming back.
Time in McCollum and they're just going to leapfrog. Is that what you're saying to me, Megan?
No. Well, okay. Well, here's what it is. They're tied. They're tied and they're not healthy. They're tied and they're not healthy. Nurk is going to come back in a couple of weeks as well. McCullough is coming back tomorrow. And so we're going to see this team in about 3 weeks at full force. I'm Charles Barkley right now. I'm saying now they're not $100,000. Are they going to win the finals or anything like that? But, I definitely put $100 on them making it, probably to at least the 3rd round.
And that's why Megan, that's why Dame should be being talked about for MVP more.
Absolutely.
It's just ridiculous that he's not. It's ridiculous. This guy, LeBron says Devin Booker's the most disrespected. I say the last 5 years, Damian Lillard, 3 to 5 years, Damian Lillard is the most disrespected.
Fair enough. Let me go to Roland really quick, and I'll come back to you, Megan. So, Roland, she's already talking about your Denver Nuggets team out there with you, maintaining but not able to keep pace. So I got to get your thoughts not only on Phoenix, but I want to know about the Denver Nuggets and where you see this team, because every year they're a team that people seem to forget about or sleep on, much like they do with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, with the San Antonio Spurs, I simply just say, is Greg Popovich still coaching? Yes. Okay, then they're going to be in the playoffs. But Denver, over the last few years, has been that team that has continually been either a high-seeded or middle of the road in the playoffs, but they just haven't broke the glass yet. So talk to me about them.
Yeah, they haven't broken the glass yet. And honestly, I think, again, this year, they won't break the glass again. I give them credit for one word. They are consistent. They are very consistent of always making a sound playoff run, but they can't break through. So, and it's not the fact that they need an extra couple of pieces. It's just for whatever reason, when they get deeper into the playoff, they tend to slide and become one-dimensional in their play. Instead of playing that team ball that got them into the playoffs, they slightly become team play, and everything tends to run through the point guard instead of really getting the ball deep down and working the inside-outside game. So I think they'll be there, of course, as the last 2 years, but I think, once again, they won't break through the ceiling. In regards to the Phoenix Suns, I wouldn't use the same word with them, but their trajectory is continuously soaring. And that is something that is not happening with a lot of NBA teams right now. A lot of teams, like Megan stated, the Lakers, any given Sunday or any given day with those guys, one day they're blasting people. Other days they look lethargic on the floor. Same thing with the Clippers. It just is very interesting to see the fact that when you do have the floor general and Chris Paul orchestrating the offense, but here's the clincher. He can orchestrate the offense, and then at times he can become a pivotal offshoot because Booker is now running from the sides. So, and even looking at the last game, the way Booker annihilated the team, especially with that fadeaway, was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, he is not a well-respected guy. He should be, because he, along with Chris Paul, every team that Chris Paul has been to has gotten better. Now, in my humble opinion, I think there are some very unique caveats in Houston because, when you're kind of when you're paired up, with someone like the Beard, the chemistry just wasn't there, in my opinion. It just wasn't there. So the way I look at this right now, do I believe the Phoenix Suns are going to be deep in the hunt? Here's a stat I want to throw to Megan that might throw her off here for a second. Only 6% chance by a lot of ESPN analysts that they're giving to the Phoenix Suns. What do you think about that? I mean, I think it should be a whole lot more, but there's a lot of folks that believe that, yeah, they're doing great, but when it comes to the grind, they won't be able to pull it out.
I think people are scared to bet against LeBron. He just always has that mentality. He has that. He's a different player when it comes to playoffs anyway. We always say playoff LeBron is something different. And I think a lot of people are scared to bet against him. And in that fashion, Kawhi as well. You know, Kawhi left San Antonio, went to Toronto, and immediately won a championship. So, you know, I think those people are scared to bet against those LA teams. I just have a gut feeling that we're going to see either Utah and Phoenix or one or the other in that finals.
Wow. All right. Let me get Alex in here for the final word, and then we are going to keep it moving. I want to respect everybody's time. So, Alex, go ahead. Final word when it comes to the NBA, sir. And he is muted.
Right.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Excellent. I compare Denver to Scorpion of Mortal Kombat. You have no idea. They are wild. So, you know, let's put Denver to the side. All right? Putting them to the side, I love Megan's approach to the NBA. 806 Sports has themselves a gem. Everybody's scared of the bully LeBron. Everybody knows this man's a mercenary, and he's living off of Anthony Davis tread because you know what? Those tread on the tires is starting to show. The team doesn't look that good without Anthony Davis. Now, once they get Davis back, of course they're going to be the bully on the block. But if he doesn't come back healthy, they can get got. As far as Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns are, I'm sleeping on them with the window up, fan on high, with no covers. Devin Booker's leather is so soft. So soft.
Oh, wow.
No backbone. He challenged a reporter because a reporter said you had better stats this year than you did last year. Hey, Devin, do yourself a favor and look around you. Last year, you were balling out crazy, and you were 19-63. This year, your numbers take a slight hit, and you're the number 3 seeds in the Western Conference. Humble your damn self. Maybe it's those damn Jenners and Kellers. I don't know. But that's your own business. Get some tougher leather. Anyway, Phoenix is not a dark horse. They're not even in the algorithm. I see Phoenix being a one and done. Congratulations on getting that extra money from all those fans who actually think Phoenix is going to do anything in this year's playoffs. You've been suckered a game.
But
right,
wait,
I'm gonna let Mike respond, and then we're gonna end. I'm gonna ring the bell, and we're gonna end this. Go ahead, Mike.
Fair enough, Eric. But that's okay. It's just like Alex ripping on the Browns because now he's saying Phoenix is going to the playoffs. Before when we did our preseason picks, I said the Suns will get the 8 seed because again it was the Western Conference. I'm not factoring in injuries. And Alex is like, Suns ain't going to the playoffs. So now it's a one and done, Alex. Then maybe you'll have to listen to Megan. Maybe it'll be Western Conference Finals and done. All I'm going to say is, Chris, and Roland, to your point, too, the 6%. Last year, and we talked about this, Alex, last year, the Oklahoma City had before the shutdown, had a 0.2% chance before the season started to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they go to the bubble. Chris Paul takes them to the playoffs. And even before they were shut down, they won like 9 out of 11, I think, or 8 out of 10, whatever it was. So Chris Paul had them going in the right way. So Alex is just bitter because he wants the Suns not to make the playoffs. Well, they're not dropping from the 2 seed to out of the playoffs, Alex. And you're going to have to.
Not bitter. You have to look at the mentality of this team. DeAndre Ayton is 7'2" and is scared.
And soft. Yes, but Chris Paul's not.
On the Hornets, couldn't get it done. The Clippers couldn't get it done. Started a riot when he was on Houston. Scared the hell out of Coach Rivers' son. Couldn't get it done. Faked it.
Couldn't get it done. He got
whatever it may be. Went to Oklahoma City.
The Rockets didn't win it.
Couldn't get it done. And now all of a sudden he's in Phoenix, taking up other people's numbers. He's a bulldog in the locker room, and they're playing winning regular season basketball.
That's right. It is regular season basketball. It is, my friend. But my point is that Chris Paul gets it done. So you can't. And in Houston, to your point, when he got hurt, all the analysts, all the protagonists were saying that's why Houston didn't beat Golden State in Game 7, because Harden didn't have Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was delivering in the series, and you know that.
They shot too many damn threes in Game 7.
All right. Gentlemen,
we'll move on.
Gentlemen, go to your corners.
Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland
Browns. How about them?
We've got to move on from this. I want to say thank you to Roland and to Megan for joining us here tonight on the Sports Arena. Megan Price, host of the NBA Carousel and the Sip Off. Make sure you check her out. Megan, what nights do you go live?
Mondays at 8 Eastern and Saturdays at 8 Eastern also.
Perfect. Make sure you check this girl out. She is doing big things. And a big shout out to 806 Sports. As Alex said, they got themselves a real uncut gem right there. This girl's on the rise. Megan, we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight.
Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Roland Rainey, the Extra Point, ESPN Denver 1600, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Anytime you want to come back on the show, you've got an open invitation here on the Sports Arena. But we appreciate you, sir.
Hey, appreciate being on, and very entertaining conversation there about Phoenix. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this one.
Oh, yes, most definitely. This will be to be continued. Trust me, these two will not let it go. Your man, Eric Wilson, Sports Arena. Again, we got to pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to talk a little MLB baseball, and we're going to get into the NCAA. Our man, John Shearer, joining with the Jays and Sideline Sports Network, will be back with us in just a moment.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Welcome back to the Sports Arena. Your man, Eric Wilson, alongside my brother, Mr. Alex Fleming, Michael Carrot-Tenuto, Believe in the Pac-12, and our man joining us back here, Sideline Sports Network, John Shearer. So I do want to talk a little Major League Baseball. And as I said, the Baltimore Orioles have their spring training down here in the Florida area, right close to my neck of the woods in Sarasota. So, but I want to talk to John specifically about this deal that was done, or that is finalizing, shall we say, between the Baltimore Orioles and Maikel Franco. Did I say that right?
Maikel Franco, yeah.
Yes. Talk to me about this deal and the impact he's going to make for the Baltimore Orioles, sir.
So he brings a little bit of power to a lineup that lacks power. They have three hitters that really can hit home runs. I mean, Austin Hayes can hit some home runs. They really have three hitters in the middle of that lineup that can hit home runs, and that's about it. Chris Davis is going to stay on the bench despite that contract. So the Orioles really don't have a lot of pop. Maikel Franco brings pop to the lineup. He's going to hit about 15 to 20 home runs, which doesn't seem like a lot in today's game, but he does bring a veteran presence. He brings some pop. His defense isn't the greatest, but he's going to hit about 250, hit between 15 and 20 home runs, driving about 60 runs. So he brings a lot of offense to a team that desperately needs it. He's not a great player, but he's a lot better than what they have at third base.
So let me ask you a question, because in this division now, in the AL East, you have, of course, the Baltimore Orioles. You have I guess I don't know where they're going to be playing this year, but the Toronto Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, and, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays. Do me a favor, John, if you don't mind, please. I need you to stack rank this team, these teams, because for so many years, it has been about the Bostons and the New Yorks of the world. We've seen the Rays have their moment. We've seen the Blue Jays. Well, they're the Blue Jays. And we've seen the Baltimore Orioles have their moment.
Have we? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess we have.
Well, it's been a while, Cal Ripken, but you've had it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But talk to me about, what your expectations are, and then more importantly, I need you to stack rank this division for me.
Expectations for the Orioles or the division?
Yes, sir.
All
Well,
right,
both.
for the Orioles, obviously we're going to be in the basement. It's still a team that has a lot of young players. Obviously, in rebuilding seems to be a long time, in rebuilding, but a lot of young players, a lot of players that are about 20, 21, 22. Still breaking out. A lot of players breaking out. Their rotation, they have a lot of guys in the minors that are on their way up. So it'll obviously be the basement. They're projected about 65 wins this year. As far as the division, I still have the Rays at the top. I mean, I know they lost a lot of guys, but the Yankees are the Yankees. I don't trust the Red Sox. And those Blue Jays are coming, man. Blue Jays are on their way, but I don't quite think the Blue Jays are there yet. But the Rays are the Rays. Last year, I said the Rays were going to win this division. My co-host JB told and the other one Jake, they both told me that I was crazy, that there was no way the Rays were going to win that division. They went to the World Series and everything. The Rays they do this. I don't know how they do it. They stack their team with these no-name players, these no-name pitchers, and then they end up winning 95 games and they're in the thick of the playoffs. I have no idea how they do it, but Rays, Yankees, Jays, Red Sox, O's is currently how I have it.
Wow, Mike, you're shaking your head. No, talk to me.
Oh, well, I just despise Red Sox fans. I mean, I'm not even a Yankees fan, but Red Sox fans are just flat out annoying. And Eric, you know that. I mean, come on. I hope look, it's early, and I always have, when I do my divisions, when I do my picks every year, there's always one division. I just say I'm going to take the team that probably has no business winning it. So I say somehow these young kids and these no names from Baltimore win the East.
Wow.
And the Yankees get the wild card. I mean,
the Yankees get the wild card. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, give me your thoughts.
Baltimore's offense will be better. I'll say that. The offense will be better. They had a lot of errors last year. They were suspect in the field last year. Balks from pitchers, their pitching rotation. Baltimore is rebuilding. Now, they're not going to be at the bottom. No, we know who's going to be at the bottom, but we don't need to speak about that. Baltimore is going to be mid-level, but the way that the MLB playoffs is now, they're going to have a chance at that wild card. I'm not going to count them out, but they're not ready for the heavy hitters. Let's just be honest with each other. Who is ready to go up against the pitching staff that the Rays have? Oh, yeah, that's right. They got rid of that. My apologies. Who's ready to face the bombers of the Oakland Athletics? Or better yet, the hitting and the pitching of a healthy Houston Astros squad. And guys, since when can we count out the Bronx Bombers? I can't believe we're even not mentioning the New York Yankees. The Yankees winning titles and making everyone miserable has been a way of life for 60 plus years. What's changed? The Steinbrenners have all the money.
While you were talking, I think Aaron Jones probably pulled a hamstring while you were talking, or Giancarlo Stanton probably pulled a hamstring while you were talking.
Oh, hater.
Woo! So let's stay in the division because I do want to talk about the Rays. And John, I want to go back to you, sir. Apparently, there's talk of this guy, Brent Honeywell. What are your thoughts on him and expectations of him being with the Tampa Bay Rays?
It's another Rays thing. The Rays bring up guys that, you really don't know much about. You don't really hear their names. And then by the time you really know who they are, they end up being somebody that you have to fear. Kevin Kiermaier was a guy that they had brought up a couple years ago. Blake Snell a couple years back. I mean, these are guys that you just have no idea who they are, and then they come out and they win Gold Gloves or they win Cy Youngs, and you're like, who the heck is this guy? And they seem to do that every year. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays have, more of these guys that you just covet. As another team, you're coveting, and you're like, wow, why didn't I draft this guy? Or why didn't I pick up that guy off free agency? It's just, like I said, the Rays do this, and I can't explain it. It's every year, and it's a weird phenomenon. Like, I've been in the AL East forever, and I just can't explain why. Like, what do the Rays do? They got rid of Joe Madden. I thought it was a Joe Madden thing. And then they have Kevin Cash, and Kevin Cash does the same thing. And they play defense and they pitch really well. And that's what they do. And then they just bludgeon you to death with, small ball.
It's going to be interesting to see because, there is high expectation living 20 minutes away from the Trop and then seeing what let's recap 2020 real quick. So the Lightning were in the playoffs and I'm pretty sure they won it all.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa, the Rays were in the World Series. The Bucks created history. The Rowdies, Tampa Bay Rowdies, Mike, you can chirp all you want. Fact still remains. Who were the Super Bowl 55 champions?
They were.
I was
rooting for the Lightning. I was rooting for the Lightning.
Let me just say this: when my team won their first and only Super Bowl championship, I had a saying, and I have to use it now for the current champion. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl 55 world champions.
I love that text. That was a great text.
They are. It's one of those things that we have to live with until next year. So it is what it is. But, to your point, John, the Rays over the last couple of years, and I've had the pleasure of seeing them up close and personal. You asked what that intangible is. And I think what it comes down to, honestly, is it's the lack of respect. They are the little brother, the redheaded stepchild, the black sheep of the family. Call them whatever you want to call them, that everybody just kind of puts to the wayside because they're a small market team. But to your point, they take these homegrown talent individuals, virtual no names unless you followed them and you followed their careers through high school and college. And then all of a sudden you look at them and you're like, who is this person? And that's what resonates. No one on the Tampa Bay Rays roster is someone who is jumping off at you saying, oh, I have to watch this guy, or I have to follow him, or I have to make sure that I'm keen on what this team and, more importantly, this list of players is doing. So year in and year out, and let's be real, what are they, 20, maybe 25 years in existence? Alex was talking about the 60-plus years of the dominance that was the Bronx Bombers, a.k.a. New York Yankees. You have, the Boston Red Sox, and like I said, the Orioles at one time were a top contending team. But the Rays have always been that little brother. And I think I will speak for the last 3 seasons. I think something has ignited in them to say they're going to take what you give them and they are going to continually prove you wrong. I remember a couple of years ago in doing this show, I predicted they would get 85 wins. I think they got maybe 81 or 82. And then the next year I was like, all right, well, let's see if you can surpass that, if you can beat that. And yes, there is an ebb and flow with the Rays when it comes to baseball. But I think like now, they know what lay before them. And they also know that the stigma of the the stigma of the Yankees and the Red Sox is not as prevalent as it once was. And they see their opportunity, and I think they're really seizing it. That's what I see when I look at the Tampa Bay Rays.
It's not just that. It's that they're able to overcome losing so many guys in free agency year after year because their payroll is so small. I mean, look at the Dodgers payroll, look at the Yankees payroll, look at the Red Sox payroll, look at all these teams that can afford gigantic payrolls because there's no salary cap in baseball. It's not a sport with salary cap. Or the teams like the Rays and Athletics, teams like that really can't afford big name players consistently. they just lose those players once they become free agents, and once they demand big money, they have to let them go and they have to rebuild. But they're used to that. They're used to losing a guy that's going to hit free agency and they can't pay him. They're just like, okay, next man up, and it it works. So I guess it kind of brings a toughness to them because they're used to just another guy walking out the door, and then they just have a next man up.
No, you're right about that. So, gentlemen, last topic, and I want to thank you all for joining me here tonight on the Sports Arena. Let's talk about it because, in fact, it is March, and it is coming up very soon, March Madness. So let me ask y'all a question, and I need some help on this because I honestly don't know the answer to this question.
May I interrupt? Real
Please.
Quick. Fitzmagic to the Washington football team, just to let you know. Not I don't know how big of a deal that is to you, but Washington just got Fitzmagic, so we'll see how that plays out. Just to throw that out there to you.
Okay. Ryan
I saw it, wasn't going to say nothing. Thank you, Mr. Shear. I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
I like it.
I was hoping more for the Deshaun Watson to Washington to play with Ron Rivera, but okay. So, Alex, you like it? Talk to me why you like it then.
Fitzmagic is a journeyman, but he's also a vet. He can get the ball downfield. Terry McLaurin reminds me of Jerry Rice. If they get another wide receiver to where they can't double team McLaurin, they have a vertical offense. Antonio Gibson is a Swiss Army knife, and he's well complemented in the backfield. Logan Thomas is going to be a top fantasy football tight end next year. You can quote me on that. Call me now for your free reading. Washington's going to be able to score points. And have you seen the Swiss cheese defense? That's just a little bit better than the Gerber baby food Falcons defense that the Cowboys have. Or better yet, the rebuild, the complete rebuild in the Philadelphia Eagles system. And do the Giants scare you? Do they? Do they? Exactly.
Okay. All right.
I just don't see why you go from Alex Smith to Fitzmagic. I mean, literally, yeah, he's a veteran, but if you're looking for a backup, I mean, if Alex Smith still wants to start, that's conversations that he had with Ron Rivera. So do I like the signing? Yes, but I never would have released Alex Smith. Sorry. Like, not with that kind of leadership.
Release Alex Smith. Look, that man was literally and figuratively playing for his life anytime he took the field. That man survived more than 17 surgeries. He was a statue out there. He had no business being out there because some man who's now in Pittsburgh wasn't responsible enough to take on the realm of being the leader of that franchise. Alex Smith has not a damn thing to prove. Not one thing to prove.
Oh, no.
But playing football in 2021 is detrimental to his health.
All right. We'll stick a pin in that one and we will come back. Here is my question that I wanted to ask you, and it is regards to the NCAA and March Madness. Can someone please tell me, when was the last time Michigan State under Tom Izzo was on the outside virtually looking in? Like they had to play to get into the tournament. Right now, it's going to be either Michigan State or UCLA, and the winner then advances to the tournament. Meanwhile, Duke is out. Virginia is out.
No.
There's another big name team.
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Thank you. Kentucky. But we have Alabama and Ohio State in the bracket? Wait.
Pump those brakes. Pump those brakes. All right. Now I got to school you. First and foremost, the best conference in this year's Big Dance is the Big Ten. Don't believe me? Illinois and Michigan are both number 1 seeds. Purdue's going to make it. Wisconsin made it. Do you really want any of that smoke from Michigan State, from Izzo? Be honest. H to the Izzo? No, you don't. A record 8 teams from the Big Ten are in this March Madness, and all of them will give it to you. By the way, Luka Garza is probably the best player who's not going to make it to the Final Four because he doesn't have the supporting cast around him. They will give you that smoke. Big Ten is that good. And as far as Alabama is concerned, they had the freshman player of the year. I believe they have the SEC player of the year. A lot of their players average double digits. They play excellent defense, and they have a cohesive unit. Alabama is known for football, but don't sleep on that SEC squad because they've been balling.
I think Arkansas is better than Alabama personally. And Eric, Virginia is in the tournament.
Virginia. Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm just thankful Alex recognized the Big Ten because, as a Penn State guy, even though we are not in the tournament, yes, Alex, we are well represented in the tournament. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you saying that.
And I
am just saying, when you look at these two teams or when you look at these two colleges, you normally associate them with football. So the fact that I'm actually, first off, Michigan State has to play to get in. They're not already in the tournament. That's number one. Number two, I mean, listen, Duke not being in the tournament, that's not happened in my lifetime.
Not true. They didn't make the tournament in 95.
1 year.
And this is the first time since 1976, Eric, that Duke or Kentucky isn't in the tournament.
That's my point right there. I have never in my entire life seen Duke.
Oops. He's never seen Duke.
I think he froze.
I know. He froze. But, Alex, I will say this. I think Ohio State, I think Michigan beat up on them. Illinois and Michigan, to me, are the real deal. I do like Iowa. I think that if you look at – but, I mean, look, me being a college basketball nerd and ASU struggling, it's the one thing that I love staying up and obviously, for me, it's not staying up late, as you know, but watching Gonzaga and their out-of-conference schedule. They missed that game with Baylor. Got postponed because Baylor's issues with COVID. They tried to reschedule and didn't.
How ironic.
Yeah. I'm not going to say they use it as an excuse, but if they did, that's weak because to me, Gonzaga can run the table. I mean, what Mark Few's done up there, because we're talking about the Suns and Cinderellas and the playoffs and stuff like that. But what Mark Few's done since 97 and, every year they were like a 12 seed and, Gonzaga's a sweetheart, they're Cinderella, and all of a sudden, they're not. This is a team which, again, 1976, it's kind of funny. Duke and Kentucky not in the tournament. Bobby Knight takes Indiana on the undefeated run. And I think Gonzaga, literally, I think Baylor would be their toughest match and seeing them in the final. So I think I definitely think Gonzaga gets there. But it'll be very interesting. I love Gonzaga. And like you said, I love Illinois too. I just think, with the way the bracket's set up, Gonzaga being the overall number one, it sets up beautiful for them to get there.
Gonzaga's got a little bit of that.
Michigan is going to – go ahead, John.
Gonzaga's got a little bit of that Atlanta Falcons in them. They always choke.
Oh, no way.
So
disagree.
I ain't worried about Gonzaga. They got that Atlanta Falcon syndrome.
Oh, cool.
That Dirty Bird syndrome.
You tell yourself that, John, because I will go Charles. I'll see if Charles Barkley will back my $100,000 because I'll bet you $100,000 Gonzaga's not choking.
Texas, Michigan is going to be a hell of a game. The winner of that game is basically going to be facing Gonzaga because Gonzaga is going to run through their bracket. Illinois is going to run through their bracket. They only have one tough person, and they're not going to face them until the Elite Eight. Here's what I'm saying. Michigan or Texas is going to play Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to have to play somebody to play Illinois for the national championship. That's all I'm going to say. Gonzaga, Michigan, Texas versus Illinois.
All right.
Fair enough.
Okay. Fair enough. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining me here tonight on the Sports Arena. Again, a big thank you to Megan Price and our special guest from ESPN Denver, 1600 The Extra Point, Roland Rainey. John Scheer, Sideline Sports Network. When you see JB Ellis, tell him I said what's up. Much love to you and everybody out there doing your thing, man. We really appreciate all the love and support that you've shown us, brother. Have a good night, and we will definitely see you on the other side. My brother, Mr. Michael Caratanudo, Believe in the Pac-12 podcast. Give a hug to Mama Caratanudo for me. Tell her I'm still pulling for the Jets. I don't know what they're going to do with the number 2 pick, but we will get into that conversation at a later time. Stop shaking your head. I'm getting to you. My brother, Alex Fleming. I want to list your laundry list of things that you do, my brother, but we ain't got enough time. But guess what? I'm going to tell you like everybody keeps telling me. Don't tell them. Damn sure just go ahead and show them. Your man, Eric Wilson, Sports Arena. Everyone have a great night. We will talk to you guys later. Have a good evening.